So, some other things about us. We are also part of a dialogue of social movements. We see our role as independent journalists to interact with what people who are moving in the streets are saying, to be a critical voice there, and to also be looking at what's going on in a broader social context, bringing that back into the understanding of how power works, how the G20 is working, and how this is going to be affecting people's daily lives on an intimate basis. So, other things about us are, we, as independent journalists, all represent ourselves. We've come together as a collective to share our resources and to pool the different skills that we've had and to learn from each other. We are also entirely focused on building an open and a progressive space that is creative, that looks at the different debates as they're coming up on the streets, as they're coming out of communities, before they get attention, to actually talk about what isn't being talked about and actually enforce that into social discussion. So that's what we're about at the Alternative Media Center. Thanks.
Thanks, Jesse. Now I'm going to introduce Dave Patrick, who is the owner of the Linux Cafe, who provided the space.
Hello there. I'm, like I think everyone else, concerned about the federal conservatives wasting $1 billion, shutting down the economic engine of the country for a week, and basically setting us up for mayhem and unproductivity. And when Jesse and Amy came to me and told me that they were doing that and asked me if there was anything I could do, I have a space that I was able to lend them, and I'd just like to thank them for being so active and proactive and being on top of it. That's all I have to say. Good luck to you all.
All right, thank you. Those are all our speakers. So, invite questions.
How are you guys, the march today? Where do you plan on going?
So as I said, these marches are organized autonomously off the network. They're going to start at 2 o'clock at Allen Gardens, and it's going to then proceed as the route planners want it. We are going to be there in a supportive capacity. The network does not organize actions, it only supports them.
Are you guys going to be out, though, in the coming days? I mean, how are you preparing yourself for what force you're going to be met with? Do you have gas masks? Like, are you prepared for what might be coming your way?
I think the work that we've done in our communities for the last year and for the years prior to that has prepared us to build a massive community mobilization of interest and hopes that's going to be taken to the streets.
Are you concerned about your safety the next few days? I mean, I'm not saying that, I know that you were saying you're going to have a peaceful protest, but there are people coming who may not plan that, and you're going to be in the midst of it.
There are people coming who have planned different actions. Again, the Toronto Community Mobilization Network is not organizing any actions, and we're here to support, and everyone who's coming is here to support each other, because we are all coming together to say abolish the G8 and abolish the G20. It's not about the cops, it's not about the tear gas that they might use. It's about the communities coming together and the message that they want to send, that the G8 and G20 are illegitimate and unrepresentative.
Just looking at
For your own safety, though, are you prepared?
If I could just say, I think this ongoing concern about safety is extremely irrelevant and is not on the agenda. Whose safety are we talking about? I mean, if you look at the last 10 summits, people have largely been safe. There have been massive mobilizations in the city just this past year, which has seen thousands taken to the street, and people have not had to worry about the safety and concerns. And what's very important to note is that we've determined the level of police interference at each one of these events, and we are very clearly announcing what action will have what level of interference. We encourage people to go to the website. If there is a certain tactic people like, if there's a certain issue that folks are interested about, there's something they can participate in.
Just looking at the schedule, I guess you've got it kind of laid out for this week, but then once Friday and or Saturday and Sunday kind of hit, everything's kind of up in the air. It's to be determined. So what does that mean? It's the days of action. It's labeled, but location, time, all to be announced. So is this more, let's stay away from the Queen's Park area, the official area, and maybe perhaps go towards the fences and that kind of thing? Or what are you foreseeing for that?
Again, the Toronto Community Mobilization is not organizing any actions, so it is up to these groups and up to their allies, and they are the people we're discussing those things.
I do know that on Saturday there is a march at the Queen's Park, and there are marches that are not at Queen's Park. There are actions that are happening where people see fit. These are community issues. This is our city. We will fight back against the G20 wherever it attacks us, and that is in most parts of our lives.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. You're journalists, but you're not protesters, but you're journalists with an agenda. I don't get it.
Right, let me clarify. This is a joint press conference with the Toronto Mobilization Committee and the Alternative Media Centre. It's because we're launching today, the Alternative Media Centre, that we decided to host the press conference here. We will be covering all the events of the Toronto Mobilization Committee and all the different actions that they're supporting and are going on. Those are going to be determined by the protesters. What we're doing as Alt Media is basically getting to the, covering those stories from the front lines and basically digging at the issues that are usually going to basically be buried. For example, you guys were talking a lot about what's going on with safety and that kind of thing. What we're going to be focusing on is the issues that are directly impacting people, why they're coming out against the G20, how their lives are affected, what their stories are, and what their relation to the G20 and to their own government is. So those are the kinds of issues that we're going to be playing out, but we are doing this independently with sort of a critical and supportive voice as to the actions as to how each individual journalist feels about them. So does that clear things up for you? Jesse Rosenfeld.
Also to repeat that all names are in the media kits, and like we said, the Toronto Community Mobilization Network is a network of communities, a network of people. It's not protesters, it's people coming together. They have different skills, they have different interests. They're coming together to say abolish G8 and abolish G20. People can have their own skills.
You are really ramping up efforts this week, right, to really get your message across?
Yes, I mean, what we've done in the past year has been educations. We have held community dinners, barbecues, forums, parties. So all of that has happened. This year we're going to be taking to the streets. That's our message. We're going to be loud and clear. And we'll be joined by thousands across the country and thousands across the world who every day fight back against the G20.
So then, are you not protesters then? If you're taking to the streets to voice your, I mean, it's kind of like a subtle line, but if you're taking to the streets to argue your point, are you not protesting?
It's not a question of whether we are or are not protesters. I think the image of the protester has been painted as these people that are disconnected from community. We live here, we work here, our children grow up here, we go to school here. These are our communities. We, just like you, I'm sure everyone that's assembled here has some concern, knows some issue that is close to their hearts that the G20 is responsible for, that you're enraged about. That makes you all protesters. Either we're all protesters or we're all people.
What lengths are you willing to go to get your message across?
People organizing different tactics have different issues and different concerns for safety as well as efficacy, and they will be determining for themselves. We have very clearly articulated what issues are, what tactics are being used. We again encourage people to look at the website, look at the package that we've given you, and decide what they want to get involved in. There's something for everyone.
Then what level would you
It's called KCAP, SOS, and SAFE. Those are the groups.
How many people?
Say what?
How many people you figure will attend that?
2 o'clock, be there.
What about Tent City? Where are you setting it up?
The 10 city location is not being announced until it's set up.
When's that?
When on Friday.
There's a website for all the journalists here that actually they can go to and look at this stuff. Like, these don't really seem like appropriate questions for a press conference. I'm wondering if you're concerned about with regards to media coverage and just sort of over the next week.
Concerns about media coverage?
Yeah.
I think we all have very different concerns. I'm absolutely, exhilarated that you will be talking about economic justice, migrant justice, and war today, of course. That will be the headlines of your stories, so I'm not concerned. If that doesn't happen, we can talk about this tomorrow. Other questions?
Great, thank you.
For those of you that didn't get a media kit that would like one, I can offer you one and a copy of the Spoke as well.
I'd like one.
Just came out this morning, hot off the press.